Hey guys, it's Carrow. I'm back with another video. Before I launch into today's topic, I do want to let you know that I have a giveaway that is currently going right now, and if you stick with me till the end of the video, I definitely will give you more details about how to enter and the prizes that are involved. So today's topic is near and dear to my heart, and if you've actually been watching any of my videos, you probably heard me use this R word frequently, and that is research. I discuss research a lot in a majority of my videos. For example, when I was talking about mythologies a little while ago, I did harp on research a great deal. And the reason that I'm actually talking about this right now is because within the last 30 days, I've had multiple situations that have occurred where research was clearly not done. One example occurred with an individual who was under the impression that America was the only country that had ever done anything involving slavery, and I remember sitting there looking at this person and going like, do you not know basic world history? And this really bothered me on a lot of levels because, one, I've lived outside of the United States until I was 25. I'm very well versed in the way that the world developed over time, and so to hear a claim like that, I was just kind of like, what? And then, not to mention the fact that because this person believed it, and I used to be a prior educator, I was just kind of sitting there like, what the fuck are teachers teaching kids these days? The second example came from an individual who did not know how male anatomy worked, and they did not know it to the point where even women in the group were going like, it doesn't work that way. And we ended up having to discuss with this person for several very long, awkward minutes about how to fix it. And when they came back, they actually didn't fix it. They just made it even more awkward, and we just gave up trying to help that person. The third individual had a scene that they were writing in their novel in which a very tense situation occurred between a man and a woman. And after we got done reading it, a lot of the women said, just going to let you know that usually that's not the appropriate response, da-da-da-da-da. And the man sat there and was like, well, you need to understand that women have triggers. And of course, we were all like... And so because these have happened so frequently within a short period of time, I feel like I should just do a video about this. So you don't really need me to come out and tell you that research is exceptionally important for your book. If you know any other writer, a lot of them usually like to joke about how like the FBI is watching them because of the Google searches that they've done in the past. Now, I am very biased when it comes to research because not only have I been a teacher and I used to teach science and math, but I'm also a grad student, and both of these things require a lot of research. We don't just really get to come out and spout opinions. In fact, anytime that I engage in a discussion with another professional and I have to cite a resource, I have to make sure that first off that research is credible, it's been peer reviewed, it's a recent article, not to mention that the person who wrote it is also in good standing and is well respected in the community. But the really big reason that research is very important to you and your writing process is because not only does it strengthen your book, but it also strengthens your standing as an authority on the subject. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have actually ever attended an author panel or seen one on YouTube or anything like that, but I would actually really encourage you to check it out and listen to the questions that people are asking the authors, because a lot of people who go to these panels are there to ask author questions. They're there to ask them about the world building, the inspiration, and they're there to find out about the writing methods. People will ask you about your world building. They are going to ask where you got your information, and not for the sense of fact checking you, but for a lot because they want to see in what way you approach the research and how you implemented it into your own work. And if you come out there saying it's like, oh, well, I did like this quick Wikipedia article, you're going to get a lot of blank stares. And that's why it's really important that not only do you do this for your book, but you do this for yourself as well. Being able to be well educated and stand as almost an authority on the subject that you are presenting in your book or that you are being asked about not only strengthens your book, but it strengthens you because people will come to respect all that hard work and effort that you put into your book. Now, I discussed about why you actually had to do the research and how it benefits you. Now we can talk about where to actually do the research at. It's way too easy for you to hop on the internet, do a quick Wikipedia read, maybe check out some videos on YouTube and call it a day. There are pros and cons to using both of those platforms for information. The pro for some of them is that there are some credible resources and information that you can find on there. The con is that anybody can upload anything to both of those platforms and it won't be checked for a long time. There's a meme somewhere involving Wikipedia where somebody went into DNA and edited the article to say in all caps, I like eggs. But just to be clear that there are other resources that you can use outside of the internet. You've got museums, if you've got something that's of a historical value. A lot of the individuals who work at museums are trained to actually answer questions. If you're doing a periodical piece, you can go in there and check out things, look, there's a lot of information, there's free pamphlets, you can talk to a tour guide, all that kind of stuff. And if they don't have the answer, they usually know somebody who does know, and you can go look at them as well. And if it's applicable to what you're doing, I would really encourage you to actually do an interview with a person that's working in the profession that you may be writing about or is involved with what you are doing. So for example, if you want to know the actual daily life of a PI or a nurse, a police officer, or somebody in the FBI, you actually are able to contact individuals in that profession and ask certain questions. And a lot of times, these people are really happy to answer your questions and give you the real deal about how things work. Not to mention that when you talk to people and you say you're going to put in the book, they usually tell them they're people. It's a hint. I know a lot of you heard me say FBI and you're like, Carrow, there's no way I can talk to the FBI. Actually, newsflash, the FBI does have a department in which is actually made for writers and people that make inquiries about how the operations within the FBI are handled. And you can go and you can talk to them. They're not going to give you specific answers in regards to certain cases or things like that, but they will tell you about the procedures and about how things are normally handled. Now, if you happen to be a college student right now, you more than likely have access to your online campus library, which means that you have a ton of articles and resources that you can use right now. If you want to use those, and I strongly would encourage that you do if you're writing something that has a very strong social science, a historical, or just a generic science background involved, go ahead and check those out, but make sure that you are looking at stuff that is peer-reviewed, and you got to check out those authors as well. There are some authors who are very questionable, who did fake their research and got it pushed through somehow, and it became discovered later. You have to do this to cover your butt, because if you use some information that was faulty for the sake of getting it published and making money, then it's going to look bad on you when you're using that in your work. Now, I told you where you could do your research. Let's talk about where you don't do your research. So the two main things I'm going to tell you to not actually use when you're doing any kind of research whatsoever are going to be TV dramas and movies. And the reason I'm going to tell you to not use those is because they are not there to be accurate. They are there to entertain you and to make money. I'm not a demolition expert, but I can usually take a look at a Michael Bay movie and know that explosives don't work that way. Dramas like CSI and anything involving crime, you can usually have the people like send this to the lab and tell them to do it right away, and it's usually done within an hour. Forensics doesn't actually work that way. Lucky if you can get that damn thing back in a week. Or my favorite is like in the CSI shows where they basically, it's like, yeah, we'll run the fingerprints against the system, and you just watch it quickly go by, and you're just kind of like, oh, we found a match, and like, that happened in 30 seconds, that doesn't work. And they're like, okay, we've got the prints, let's go in there and take the bad guys down. It's like, bitch, get your ass back in the lab. So we talked about research, why research is important, the appropriate places to get research, and then I told you where not to go to get research and information at. So the fifth thing that I definitely want to talk to you about is what to not do with your research, which is bore the fuck out of your reader. Now, you are going to put a lot of time, you are going to put a lot of effort into basically doing all this background content knowledge for your book, and it's going to be really tempting to kind of show off everything that you learned to the reader. Don't do that. Would you like to know how much research I did for my book? This much. This notebook right here is full of nothing but like articles and reviews and interviews that I did, and right here is the Encyclopedia of Mythology. I didn't take a guess about how much of my research is actually seen in The Queen of Swords and Silence. Much. This is probably about 30 pages. And that's not 30 pages all in one place. It's 30 pages pretty much scattered, and I think it's like 275 pages right now. And the reason that you can kind of be more lean with presenting your information is because your reader is a lot smarter than you probably give them credit for. It's a little too easy to like sit there and kind of want to baby explain everything to your reader, and what you're going to do is you're actually going to end up frustrating your reader, especially if they already know this content information and they're already good to go. To provide the counterexample, I have seen books where they use science a lot, but it was still very engaging. For example, Artemis, which has very mixed reviews. My writing wife hates that book. I actually like it, but when she told me about why she didn't like it, I was like, oh yeah, those are really bad points. And she's like, well, why didn't you pick up on them? I was like, because we were on the fucking moon, and I was so excited about how we were living on the moon and how technology was being used on the moon and the effects of gravity and all this other stuff. I was just totally engrossed with the fact that we were on the moon and how the author made it work that I forgot to look at all the cons that were happening. Now, on the flip side, there are people who feel the need that they have to over-explain something because they just don't trust the reader to understand the information that they're trying to present. I have mixed thoughts on this. One, I don't think you should do it at all. Like I said before, your reader is a lot smarter than you probably give them credit for. That's why they're more than likely reading your genre. Probably a good contrast is there's one individual who spent 10 years at my writing group researching the science and everything that's involved with like the history and the occult before he wrote his book, and I did not spend 10 years doing that, and the whole reason I didn't actually spend 10 years doing that is because I've always been reading urban fantasy, fantasy in general, occult things. So when I walked into writing this, I already had a very strong foundation when it came to like the world and everything that's involved, so I didn't need to do that extra research. And if you already have like that strong background knowledge in what it is that you're writing, then you're already good to go. The only thing that I would tell you to do is to make sure that you are definitely researching things that you are not 110% on. For example, I have Louisiana that features in my story for about a few scenes. And while I did know about the quarter and some of the history and the myths and the vampires and all that stuff, I didn't actually know enough about the city itself. So when I went to go and write it, I didn't do it very well, and I got called out on it by one of my beta readers. So I had to go and do the research, talk to people who were there, talk to people who had been there, and then actually pull up a Google map to research like where everything was. So that way when I was describing the who, what, where, when, I had a little bit more authority on that. At this point in the video, I'd probably like ask you guys like an engaging question to kind of get your thoughts and feelings on something, but what I kind of want to do instead is do an optional homework assignment. And what I would like you guys to do, if you have time, is to go and do an author panel view. Like, you don't actually have to go to an author panel. I mean, you could. Those are actually kind of fun. There's swag involved. But, you know, watch an author panel and listen for the questions that are getting asked by the author, and think about those questions and think about how you would respond to those questions as well. And when you get done with that, I would like you to come back and throw in something in the comments down below in regards to the observation that you noticed when it came to the questions being asked to the authors. This way we're kind of getting your thoughts facing forward, considering what it is that readers are looking for, and ways to kind of approach research and answering questions and getting ready for hopefully your panel one day. So now we can go ahead and talk about the stuff that I know that some of you have been waiting for, which has to do with the giveaway that I'm doing this month. I have some pretty hefty goals, considering that I'm a first-time author that nobody's heard about, but I do have goals. Like, look, I have them like here, all stretched out, and I'm tracking them. Now, one of the goals that I had for the end of the first quarter was to have my newsletter subscription up to 100 subscribers. At this present moment, it is up to 63. Now, my newsletter covers a lot of different things. It covers kind of like events that are coming up with me that I really don't discuss anywhere else. It has some concept art that's for the books that I'm not going to publish anywhere else. And it also talks about offers that I have that are coming up as well. More importantly, it's a way to communicate with other individuals, keep them updated about what's going on, and kind of branching out into what's happening. And I would absolutely love to have this goal met before the end of the first quarter. Having said that, and knowing psychology the way that I do, I know that sometimes people actually need some kind of incentive, and I'm willing to provide that for you. One of the other cool things about my newsletter is that when you sign up for it, you automatically get a free copy of my short story called Staff Meeting that is out right now. So if you're not super sure if I know what I'm talking about with this writer nonsense, you can read that and you can be the judge yourself. So let's talk about the swag, because I know that's what you're here for. So first thing that we've got is obviously a coffee mug. It's got a coffee mug with my little icon on it about writing and my little thought board that I have going on in the background. Y'all like coffee, I'm willing to provide a means to sip that coffee with. The other thing that I have right here are going to be 2 bookmarks that I have for my book that is coming out this April. Did y'all know that my book's coming out in April? It's coming out in April, y'all. Okay, help me out here. Got 2 bookmarks for you. It's got the blurb on one side. It's got my little art on the front. And the other bit of swag I got going on is going to be this little chibi right here. Now, fun thing about the chibi is that it's a sticker, so you can peel her off and put her wherever you want. Wait, there's more. 2 really good books that I think are really important for a writer's library to have. So the first book I have here is Write and Publish Your Novel, which is actually written by this fantastic guy right here. This book was actually written by the leader of my writing group, who's got over 10 years experience. He is self-published, he is traditionally published, and more importantly, when he was writing this, he would bring it to writing group, and it was critiqued by everybody that was there. We've all had a say in this book and what should be in it and what should not be. And it's a lot of really good information. It's easy to follow, and I can't recommend this book enough. This book about creating character arcs literally changed the entire way that I write my books right now, because it talks about the different, like the positive, the negative, and the neutral character arcs, the lie that the character tells themselves, and how to incorporate all that, along with some really good examples. There is a workbook for this, but I'm just going to include this book right now. So if you haven't subscribed already, there is still time to do that. I will be announcing the winner in this month's newsletter when it comes out. So that's all I got for you today. If you happen to find this video educational and helpful, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to be notified when I come out with videos, ring that bell as well. That will always let you know when I come out with videos, and they're usually on Wednesday and Friday. And that's all I got to say for you today, so have a great week, y'all.